I remember sometimes back, I think it was this year, he was able to remove, I don't want to mention the company. I think for me, water is better. And it was, that company was Kenya, it was about, because on 2019, I was running a campaign, Save Nairobi National Park. And they say they want to feature me on one of their documentary, which was Save Nairobi National Park. I was able to shoot the video before I came to COP, and I think their team was to be here in Blue Zone, but they were not able to be given a chance to set up their pavilion. So I think they said they're going to showcase the video in London next year. And seeing how these people have been tried to influence and also to take and also to get into this field of climate activism and also try to save, I think that's a good thing, because for us we need all people, because you have been seeing how climate change have been affecting not only agriculture but in different ways, talking about hospital, talking about everything is being affected by climate change. And as I'm talking now, you find how around the world they are being affected by climate change, because you may not see, but someone who is in Kenya right now, Kenya is one of the countries which are experiencing the impact of climate change. If you can go there and visit like Tsavo National Park, elephants are dying. Most of the park, even the time I was in Nairobi, I was very shocked in one of our best unique Nairobi National Park, because it's unique, it's the only national park in the city with these big 4 animals. Seeing the number decreasing also eager me to fight in this field, because it is not easy to be a full-time in this field of climate activism. That's why for me it's a challenge, and also I'm trying to push it. Yeah.
Amazing. There's so many good points in there. Thanks, Kevin. I think we've got time for some questions from the audience. Do you want to?
Thank you all so much. You, almost all of you, I think, have spoken about courage at different points and pushing your own personal boundaries. I just wondered, I'd love to hear from all of you just quickly about the actions that you would encourage the young audience listening around the world to maybe take that extra step, and what, how they can just dig that little deeper and challenge themselves sort of one step at a time, not only in their sport, their own physical, mental health and well-being, but how that can also reflect for the planet and that well-being too.
Yeah, I guess, you know, this is a movement which is often feels very heavy and tough, and, you know, we're in a catastrophe, so it's hard not to be negative. But I think I would encourage to stay hopeful, to know that we're in this fight together, and there's some simple steps that you can start taking. Obviously, there's like a million steps we can take, but there's simple steps you can start taking to live a better life for the planet. I think there's also, you know, just get out there, see the world. I think a lot of what we've been talking about is exploration, adventure, and I think that will stoke the fire of feeling this oneness with the planet, feeling this excitement to be part of this movement to protect it, and often it being, like you were saying, like connecting with the planet, earthing, feeling really connected to Mother Earth, gives us the hope and kind of heals us from the mental anguish and depression of this overwhelming time we're living in. So yeah, get out there and you know, make the small choices in your own life that can impact the planet better.
I think Vassar touched on this, but the imposter syndrome can be real in joining the climate movement. It's so overwhelming, and who am I to? And you know, I'm a high school dropout. I was a model. I'm a skier. Like, but I'm still stepping up every day and leading and thinking, who can I help today? Where can I be a force? Where's my big lever? And so I just want to tell everybody out there that you don't have to be an expert. You don't have to have a doctorate degree to join the climate movement. Everybody is welcome in this space. And as a leader, I try to remind myself that my work can only be as well as I am well. And so as we're working to regenerate this planet, we need to regenerate ourselves, and we need to regenerate our brothers and sisters, and remember that we're all interconnected in this community. And so I encourage you all to lead with a spirit of love and compassion, generosity, and hope.
What I've seen, obviously we've all seen some very frightened young people, and they're right to be frightened. You know, they're concerned about their future. You talked about, you know, the courage to do things and to get out and do things beyond your comfort zone. And when you get into trouble, got to breathe and get busy. And I think that applies to all these, to everyone. You've got to get busy. But, you know, everyone's got to get themselves together now. There's urgency, yes, but, you know, people need to understand that there is hope, but we've got to get busy.
So at the Oxygen Project, we do these activism trainings. We've actually just gotten through our first cohort. On our Spanish side, we have a Spanish team based out of South America that is running them in Spanish, and we're halfway through our first cohort in English. And one of the first activities we do, I don't know if this is working. Oh, here. That's where it is. And one of the first activities that we do is a Venn diagram, and it's very simple. And on one side, you put your skills. Maybe you don't have the skill yet. Maybe you're working on it, or you would like to have that skill. Don't get too caught up in that. And then on the other side, your passions. And it doesn't have to be obviously environmental, as more and more people understand that a lot of solutions are intersectional. So it can really be any passion you have that could possibly tie back to the environment. And in the middle, you can combine the two to create action steps. So you can do some that are something maybe you could do today, and the more you sit with it, is maybe it's a bigger dream of something you can do in your community tomorrow or in a month from now. And then you can start creating goals, alignment goals of how you want to get there. Because like we said in this question, maybe it's not the biggest goal is the first thing you do, but maybe it's that small thing that would make you feel good, that you know you're having an impact that you could do today, and working through that. So that's where I would say you can start, and just know that, you know, you can look outward for, you know, inspiration, but really that empowerment and that agency lies within. So just build a community around you, and get to work and inspire those around you along the way.
Okay, yeah, I think for me what I can say, I should say activism is a process where you can get involved in many fields. The activism field is very wide. You can be a human rights activism, food right activism, as long as you are protecting something, because the way I say climate change is interlinked with many issues. So just go there. We have social media, we have Google, which is one of the best tools we have ever had. You can go there and search, how can I get involved in this field?
Yeah, I'm building on what Louis said as well, like taking that joy and wonder that we all feel in the natural world and channeling that into your passion and your activism, and using that as a source of energy is definitely a good long-term strategy for young people. But also it's kind of amazing being here in the Blue Zone and seeing young people from all over the planet speaking up. And I think that going back to that theme of imposter syndrome and courage, and like it feels really impenetrable, like trying to have a voice and trying to bring your voice to this space. But what I'm seeing more and more is that's so possible for young people right now. And I'd urge them all to just believe in themselves and believe in that sort of passion, and to just push it and go for it, because this is the moment, if there's ever been one.
I just wanted to add a couple more words of encouragement as well. Firstly, that none of us are perfect, and it's quite hard. Sometimes you don't want to enter in something. I've spoken to other creators that are even too scared to speak out about environmental issues because they know they're not perfect and they're going to get backlash because they use the wrong products, they use plastic, you know. So I feel like, firstly, no one's perfect, and I think that's part of the culture I'd love to see happen more, rather than the council culture, like, you know, call people out, yeah, but call people, you know, into a better scenario. And I think, and the other thing is, and I think young people are doing this really well, is building community, building these activist groups. The amount of young youth activists from around the world that are part of these little groups that they're starting and they're interacting. And I think something great about COP, I don't know so much about the political side of it and all of the talking and stuff, kind of, it's a bit overwhelming for me, but I think like the cross-pollination and sharing ideas and, you know, meeting really cool people doing stuff, I feel like this is where you can draw together. We're never going to be able to do it as an isolated island, just trying to, you know, I have the tendency sometimes to be the lone wolf, the lone ranger trying to do my thing, but it's all about collaboration and community.
Thank you. I want to say thank you, because this is the most encouraging thing that I've seen here at the COP. Thank you for that. I'd also like to ask you if you know about the ecosystem restoration camps movement, because there are 55 camps around the world where people are doing ecosystem restoration, including one an hour and a half from here in Nueva called the Habiba camp. But there are camps in Somalia, in Guatemala, in the Philippines, all over. And if you guys would champion this, all the kids would go to ecosystem restoration camps. I hope you will. I hope you'll go to ecosystem restoration camps and lead with example how to do that, how to take charge, because we can restore soils. We can restore the hydrological cycle. We can do agroecology. We can restore forests. We can do the coastal zones and corals and mangroves. And in doing that, we make the communities more resilient in times of famine and drought and flooding. And we bring this sense of community. And that is the real thing. I think when I see what's going on in the blue zone, it's kind of scary. It seems like it's the trade show at the end of the world. And it might be a better idea for us to go plant trees, to go work together, play and cook together, feed everybody, feed everyone who's hungry. We can do that. And I talked with the World Food Program, WFP, and they said even if all the money that has been pledged were given to them, they could only feed half of the people who need it. So if we work with local communities to build central kitchens and creator spaces and cultural stages, then all the people can feed themselves. We can have the World Food Program send the money to the communities themselves to help them build up their capacity to feed themselves. This is the kind of thing that I hope you guys will champion with your celebrity and your courage, and bring more courage to those people. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll be really quick. Thank you for all your stories. You guys have access to some incredible places in the world. Often, can you all hear me? Closer. You all have access to some incredible landscapes across the world. You know, great diving spots here. You know, great mountains, forests. But there's the challenge of too many people in these areas in the tourism industry. I mean, this coral is mostly dead, largely because the tourism industry here. Can you speak to what your role is in conserving these spaces, and given your voice and your platforms, you know, what can you do for these areas? Do you boycott it? Are you advocates? How do you use your voice in this respect?
Yeah.
So part of I'm hosting the Hope House here, and part of our program offering was we wanted to be able to take people into the Red Sea. And so our first step was to find the local nonprofit organization here that's already doing the work here, and to connect with them. And so we met with them many, many months ago and went through their protocol and understood how it is that they are managing their local systems, the capacity, and how we could be allies to them. And we went into listening mode. And so we took their educational resources like reef safe sunscreen, don't touch the corals, and we amplified that out to our community and asked them to amplify it out to their community of visitors coming in here. And so I think it's really important as activists that we are always remember to pass the mic and highlight the leaders on the ground doing the work and allow them to invite us into their spaces, because you bring up a really important point that some of us have a lot of privilege to go around the world and access all of these different places, and as we're promoting them, there needs to be a responsible level of tourism. So I don't have all the answers, but that's one case study of how we attempted to do it right.
I'd just like to add that my job is in protected area management, my day job, and obviously these ecosystem services, all these places need to be funded, and that is always the discussion. Tourism is the means to fund. It is an ecosystem service. Fundamentally, though, it's hugely flawed. It's the most inefficient ecosystem service there is. We talk about ecotourism. We've tried to sort of follow the dollar. About 5% of tourism revenue, when it goes through a booking agent and gets down to the protected area. Now, if you're a farmer and you put 5% of your revenue back into your land, it would collapse. And this is why we've got to find ways, ecosystem services beyond tourism. You know, we've been at a huge amount of discussions with guys talking about biodiversity credits, carbon credits, all these ways to monetize things. But fundamentally, they've got to be efficient, and the money's got to go to where it needs to be, is to protect the land. There's, quite frankly, I'm being quite cynical, but at the COP here, there's a lot of people here to make a lot of money, it's going to be quite important for everyone to acknowledge that money needs to be made to save the planet. It's not being made to make some people rich, and that goes with all the ecosystem services. It's a big responsibility that needs to be borne.
I'll just bring back up something Sierra was saying earlier, from the ego to eco and this extractive mindset. So whether you're looking at solutions, if they're still extractive, that's using a mindset that's colonial based. It's why we have runaway climate change in our faces today. So even as a person making decisions in your everyday, especially if you're traveling, or if you're out there doing any sort of sport, or if you're out there consuming and you're just moving through the world, just having a recognition in your own mindset of moving away from this extractive kind of way that you move throughout the world. And especially when that comes to traveling, like we are here today, to make sure you're in community with people who are local and this is their home, and to make sure that you're not just going into a space to consume whatever you can and then leave. So I think it's also just a mindset shift that both applies in this bigger scale and why we're here at COP, and then on that interpersonal work as well.
Yeah, it's such a good question, and it's a really hard answer. Yeah. Are there any more questions, or should we call it a day? I mean, thank you. Oh, sorry. Here you go. Come on.
Cheers. It was kind of going back to what you were talking about earlier. I think all of us probably here suffer a little bit from eco-anxiety. And then there was the whole pandemic going on, where maybe some of us got a bit more anxious. And I think for myself, I was already into climbing, but I got really into climbing there. But I think, my question is more, how would you recommend maybe people that don't have someone to, kind of take them along? How do you get into something that improves your physical health at the same time as like environmental health, like you do with sports and like engaging with the nature where you are? Like, what are some easy steps to like get into this in the way that maybe you are?
Okay, yeah, maybe I can start. Yeah, for me, what I've been trying to do is, before I started the environmental tournament and that environmental school tour, it's not easy, because living in a community, you are alone. Most of this like kind of a big activism, they are based in Nairobi, so I had to create a group. It's just a small group, and slowly by slowly, now I have more than 40. And you have been trying to encourage each other. Sometimes you may like this, you may like this, but you know, in this field, you just say, let's continue pushing, because people are dying, and you can't postpone climate change. So for me, it's just, if maybe I'm low, I can go maybe watch football, dance, or just going down in my social media and try to watch the comment, because you have some people who are just word of encouragement. You are doing good, just keep what you are doing. So through those words, that's what have been giving me. You are good, just keep going on. Yeah, and through my mentors and everyone just in my community. Yeah.
I had a lot of injuries in my sport. My body doesn't function the same way that it used to, but I'm still managing to hold on to my endorsement deals and continue to wear the professional athlete hat. And my trick has been the mind. My body's starting to fail a little early in life, but I can still train my mind. And I think that's something that we all have access to. And so cultivating a mentality that's going to take you the distance, I think is really underserved in our Western modern culture. Optimism, positivity, gratitude, breathing, human connection, and not forgetting that we speak about nature like we're separate than it, but we are nature. If you want to touch nature, may I touch you? Yeah. I've just touched some nature right here. Take your shoes off, step in the grass. We don't need this high level entry that costs a lot of money to go out with a lot of equipment. Just take your shoes off whenever possible. And if people look at you funny, just invite them to join you.
Yeah, thanks so much, everyone. Thanks, Amber and Al and Extreme Hangout for having us. And I think that's it, right?
I think so. That's been wonderful. The only thing I would add is really, when you want to get into this space, when you want to look after yourself, when you want to look after the planet, just open up your front door, step out, and we're all waiting here to catch you and embrace you in our communities. So thank you to all of you so very much. It's just been marvelous. I've loved every second of it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much. Thank you.